Good morning. Welcome to spring break. We are in the middle of spring break. Chris is on vacation, and we're excited to hear about how that went when he gets back. But what does spring break look like for you and your family, Kevin?
These days, sleeping in.
He just got here like 2 minutes ago, by the way. So
No, it's good. It's relaxed. This is the first time that Alana has also had time off as well too.
Oh.
So that's been good. We've been doing some spring cleaning. Titus is away at camp because he's wanting to become an LIT. So he's at camp for the week in training. So that's exciting because even just taking one kid out of the house changes the whole dynamic, which I think you know about too.
Yeah. Well, I only have two, so it's more obvious. But for that's interesting.
How about you?
Okay. Yeah, for me, well, last week I was away, so the first part of the week, just at home, doing some sleeping in, like you said, staying up a little later, sleeping in, just relaxing, and then slowly getting to work on my finishing touches on the house. You know, the baseboard trim that doesn't change your life, but it's nice to get done.
Yeah.
So I have that done in the main area. Well, not painted yet, but in the main areas I have it up. And then over the weekend we went back to Chilliwack. And so that was good. The boys were really excited to see their buddies. They spent time with their buddies, and I went hiking and did a little climbing, and we went to Midtown Church, where they send greetings, by the way. So that's
Our brothers and sisters.
Our brothers and sisters, yes, and at our sister church. So same denomination. So that was good too, and it's funny. When I first started the week, I thought, a week's not enough,
Yeah.
But then by the end, I was like, I'm excited to be back.
Yeah.
Yesterday came back. Was the first day, and it was really good. So. Yeah. Well, I had an opportunity to listen to Chris's sermon on Sunday on the passage that came up next in Mark, and
His long sermon.
was it long?
Right?
Well,
longer.
I guess so. I didn't really notice. I just thought it was really good.
It was good. It was good.
And he raised some good questions. So I thought, hey, maybe we should discuss a couple of those questions this morning. So one of his questions was, what type of soil are we? There's 4 types of soil.
Yeah.
And so what type of soil are we was a question he was asking. So when you look and you think of the 4 different types of soil, you got the hard ground, and then you got the along the rocky places, and the ones in the thorns, and then the good soil. As he explains those, do you have one that tends to be the one that you like when you're not good soil, when we revert back to?
It's you want to be good soil. Mm-hmm. You assume you're a good soil.
Yeah.
But it's tough to know what is affecting your relationship with God. Sometimes you assume it's this, and sometimes it's that, and you never really know. You don't ever want to necessarily say, okay, I'm busy, so then I'm kind of taking up that this is cares of the world kind of thing. But I think there's times where I think I might be maybe a little bit rocky because I get really excited about something, and then I maybe quickly move on from that thought, and maybe don't take time to just stop and chew on that idea, and allow God's Spirit to kind of work me a little bit, and to be continually, like I know that I want to be open to the Holy Spirit and open to God's working, but also how does that continue, right? It's not a today I'm on fire about this, and then tomorrow I'm sleepy, right? So that's How about you?
Yeah, no, that's really insightful, because it's easy to get excited about something and then the next day be like, there was something that happened yesterday. Yeah, I think for me, I tend to be the third type. As I read through Jesus' explanation, seed seed sown among thorns. You hear
Say
the
that
word.
5 times fast.
Yeah, exactly. Hear the word, but then the worries of life, the the deceitfulness of wealth and other things choke it out. Like, I do find myself, if I'm not continually, coming to the Lord, coming to the Word, reminding myself. I think this is just a good reminder to remind ourselves, right? Every day, like, the worries of this world tend to, the worries of my family and when we look at what our jobs are, or how we work in the world from a worldly perspective, it can be very worrisome. Yeah. And Jesus, in this next passage I'm looking for Sunday, talks about how sometimes things that look, not are actually.
And I find even that's a hard one too, because like it relates a lot to control. How do you trust God fully, but also kind of keep your hands off the wheel without saying, I want to make sure everything's good and not worry about everything, right? Like.
Yeah. So this morning, it just reminds me, I left the house. I was a quarter of the way here.
Then you took your hands off the wheel.
No. But the worries of life got me, because I was like, did I turn off the oven? I'm pretty sure, the stove? I'm pretty sure I did, because I boiled some eggs. I'm pretty sure I did. But then I was like, okay, I have to make sure. And I went back, we feel like we have to control it all, right? And it's just a reminder that good soil is where we just not that we don't go back and check, but it's just that there's some things we can't control, and that's where we trust, right? Yeah. And actually nothing we can control. We do our part. Yeah.
Well, I was even thinking, like, even like when it comes to like larger things like world peace. I either want to throw my hands up and say I can't do anything about that, or I can be super controlled and say I'm going to be an activist for this and 100 other things, and how do we find that understanding where faith is actually also going to help us do all of that and work towards it, realizing actually it starts with me, right? Like that, even that one is still kind of about that sense of trust, right? And saying it's not just me working harder to get this all done, but it's also not caring either, right? And that's faith, I think, being worked out in allowing God to work His way, because I know He has world peace in His hands, and it might actually also not look like what we think it's going to look like either, too, right? Yeah.
Well, I mean, talking about little things like.
Sorry, that's a big sidestep of world peace, but
in the next passage he talks about the small mustard seed.
Yeah.
Right? We'll talk about that more on Sunday, but and it turns into something big. So like world peace, I got to go solve world peace, but are you at peace with yourself? Are you at peace with the Lord? Are you at peace with the person next to you? You know, if you have family, are you at peace with the family member, or did you just get off a fight with them to go solve world peace? Right? Those are the things that he says. Start there.
And when like you first move into a community, you always wonder, like, okay, what's the culture of even like this street? Like, do the neighbors take care of each other? Do they get to know each other? Right? Like every street also has kind of a different culture, but that's all based on the way that people take care of each other as well too. Right? Yeah. And that's a bit of a sidestep, but like the same thing is that it's a small step and it starts with me.
And that's part of the good soil, right? Am I good soil? Am I good soil for everything he's telling me, not just I got to solve this big thing, but like that's not good soil if we're trying to solve the big things that he's about, and he's telling us solve this thing in your heart. Or he's telling us let me solve this big thing in your heart. What
was the other questions Chris asked?
Oh, there were some good ones. he talked about how this was preparation for his disciples who he's going to send out, and kind of the idea is you're going to be sharing, and some people will get it, some people won't. They'll get discouraged, right? So it reminded me of a story I read. So this emperor of this, I forget which kingdom it was, but this emperor, maybe this make-believe kingdom probably, but he decided that he was getting older and he was going to pass on his role to someone young. But the way he was going to do it is he called in a bunch of kids, and he gave them all seeds, and he said, I want you to go plant this seed, water it, and bring it back in a year, and then we'll see who gets the kingdom. So one of the boys was Ling. His name was Ling, and so he goes and he planned it really carefully. He watered it every day, and every day he came and checked it, and he made sure he didn't do too much or too little water. 3 weeks, nothing. 6 weeks, nothing. And his friends, he was looking around, they all had these plants growing and everything, and 6 months, still nothing. And then so the year comes, and they all are called in. The emperor calls all these kids, and all these kids have these big plants growing out of these pots and everything, and Ling's sitting in the back with his empty pot. The emperor points to him in the back of the room and tells his people to bring him up. And he says, hail the new emperor, or whatever, this is your new emperor, Ling. And Ling was worried that he was going to be executed because his plant didn't grow. And then he said to him, he said, I gave you all boiled seeds. They were all dead. He was the only honest one, right? Now, that's not what the thing is saying, that we're not planting dead seeds, but the idea is, that sometimes we don't know what's going on, There's so much that we don't know, and he tells us to be, like Ling was faithful with, what he had.
Yeah.
We've actually been given a live seed, the seed, the Word of God is alive, but sometimes it just doesn't look like it's doing, and I just like that story because it kind of illustrates that.
That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
That's interesting. What actually made me think, while Chris was talking, he was talking about, sending these people out and preparing them for the possibility of rejection. Mm-hmm. And it kind of made me think of a couple of steps. So the next step was how do you prepare an army or somebody going into battle to be ready to possibly be defeated, right?
Or feel defeated.
And how do you get them to keep going? And then it kind of made me go to the next step. How do you simplify that even a little bit more? I remember when we were playing hockey, when we were just learning how to do hockey, novice, you're just learning how to skate and do your thing. Mm-hmm. And how do you get kids more confident on the ice? Well, what we would often do is we would skate from one part to the blue line, and then when you get to the blue line, you fall. Mm. And then you
just make it there, fall.
you go as hard as you can, and then when you get to the blue line, you fall, or you slide on your knees, or you just dive, right? Yeah. And what that does is it shows you when you dive, you don't die. Yeah. Right? Yeah. You're actually okay. Yeah. And so you're teaching and you're building that sense of how do you deal with defeat? How do you understand, or even how do you teach a team or a child, or even playing board games? How do you teach a child how to lose well, so that when they go into those situations in life, that you can actually work through both loss and win and all of those things. And it makes me wonder, is this what Jesus is kind of bringing us to, that you're actually going to get rejected a lot when you share the gospel. You're going to have people receive. You're going to have everything in between. Yeah. But you'll also realize that it's not you planting. It's not you doing all that work. It just, it kind of brought it a little bit more home for me to realize that, we're always going to be fighting an uphill battle. It's okay to feel like we're always losing because actually God is actually working in the background, because there's a larger, grander war at stake that I would rather lose small battles for and let him win the bigger thing, right? Yeah. And I thought that was very profound, the way that Chris kind of laid that out, that Jesus was preparing them for it. Right?
Yeah, I love that. That was great. And it helps us us as a church, our goal is to be God's hands and feet in the world. And when we don't see this place full, that's okay.
Yeah,
God's
yeah.
working. When we don't, when we are trying to love our neighbor and they're not responding, that's okay. What our part is to do. Our part is to continue to scatter the seed, right?
Or, somebody said, ask yourself, even at the end of every day, was I faithful? Mm-hmm. If you can answer that fully, honestly, mm-hmm. then it's a good feeling going to bed to say, God, I've trusted you with everything today, mm-hmm. and I'm going to just allow you to do all that work so that I can be faithful to what you called me to in the small things as I evaluate my day, and then maybe do better tomorrow. Yeah. If I wasn't as faithful, or I waste my time, or
and
whatever.
To recognize that our goal is to be faithful, and what is that faithfulness? It's not to do anything to earn our mm-hmm. rest at the end of the day. It's to trust Jesus, and so at the end of the day, if you come to the end of the day and you've failed, I've taken care of it. Yeah. I've died for this. And so the next day we can go in with, I'm confident in him, right? Yeah. He's the one,
See, it feels like we're already prepping for this mustard seed thing already.
Yeah, I know.
We're already there.
Don't say too much. I won't have anything to say on Sunday. It's really good to be with all of you today, and I hope that you have a good week, that spring break is joyful for you, whatever that means, whether you have kids at home that are out of school, or whether you're just seeing that the snow is mostly gone. And
there's a few more in the hills. I was noticing that the other day. I'm like, boy, that's...
Spring is coming. It's here, March 2021, whatever it is.
There's still snowstorms happening in Alberta, though. I'll point that out.
So be happy that we're here. Have a great week, everybody. God bless you.